Yeah. Right. Yeah, they'll get it.
So fun. It was fun. I'd never heard of that before that incident. Before that game? Oh, for this meeting? Think it's gonna go long? Think it'll go long? It's Canadian. Like, it kind of is a small scale. It's a lot of luck. The problem that I kept having was, oh yeah, I know. You could find yourself, I don't know now, if you call us some crazy and he gets the 20 points. That was a lot of fun. Yeah, then you can
I got my mail earlier today. This wasn't in there.
I was keeping my foot. Yeah, that was.
I guess I need to put the mail.
I was trying to pivot, but it was much more weight than trying to go to the screen.
I'm being behind.
I still
Maybe
think
it's on. I got my mail earlier. I was up here earlier.
rules.
Well, I'm sorry.
See, like 97%, 99% aiming. Oh, pushing the lines out. Then the other shot is like 2% of the line, so it's on the good side. It's on the high side. It's crazy. Yeah, no, it's clearly a pump game, but except I never even heard of it. It's crazy too. I was out there for this. It was when I got paused or whatever. So, or use part of it. Whatever company you're selling, some are like 70, nice woods, inlays. Yeah.
You all ready?
Yeah.
Call this meeting to order. Those in attendance, please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome all of our friends and neighbors and colleagues in joining us in this regularly scheduled April 4th, 2022 Hillsdale City Council meeting. As you come in tonight, if you're a guest with us, there's a sign-in sheet on the desk, which would be to my right, to your left. It's right past the door. If you're a guest with us tonight, please sign your name. City Clerk, can I have a roll call?
Yes. Councilmember Soha,
Present.
Reiner,
Here.
Beer,
Here.
Morrissey,
Here.
Sharp,
Here.
Stuchel,
Here.
Pratt, here, Sizer,
Here.
and Mayor Stocker.
Here.
All present.
Thank you, Katie. We will move on to approval of agenda. Does the city manager or any members of council have any changes to make to the agenda tonight? City manager?
Mayor, I did put a traffic control order 2022-05 in front of everyone. It is for Barber Drive. This is an accommodation between the city and the college.
Okay, so we'll add this as new business item D. Do I have a motion?
Support.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Soha, seconded by Councilman Beer to add new business item D, traffic control order 2022-05. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Any other changes to be made to the agenda tonight? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the amended agenda.
So moved.
Support.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Morrissey, seconded by Councilman Beer. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it, we have an agenda. We will move into public comment on agenda items only. During this time, please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Please limit your trips to 1 to the podium. Please ensure if you're speaking on anything that it has a direct tie to something present on the agenda. Also, in lieu of the last few meetings, I would like to reiterate that this is a business meeting and I expect decorum from the council and from the audience. If anybody speaks out of turn, they'll be warned once. If they speak out of turn a second time, they will be removed. So thank you folks for your understanding and thank you for your respect. We respect you as well, and the podium's now open.
Tracy Rattan here to talk about the 4th of July parade again. Just to let you know, I did follow up with Hillsdale Hospital with Rachel Lott, sent her an email, and took a while for her to respond back, and basically the email that I got from her was saying that they probably would withdraw their application and reschedule their event. So to my knowledge, that's the last I've heard from her. Haven't seen anything since then. So I'm hoping that the council will take in consideration their withdrawal and we'll move forward with me doing the 4th of July parade. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. Any more comments on agenda items?
Jack McLean. I'm wondering what the findings of the planning commission were for the water retention at the airport. I know at the college, before they let them build that new building, they made them come up with a plan on retaining the water, but I've never seen anything in front of the planning commission about the airport. Do they not do that, or what? Because they're dumping a lot of water, and I'm just not sure why it wasn't caught by the planning commission. The other thing, I made a statement last time I was here. Some people didn't take it right. The person I was actually talking about's name starts with Robert. So, thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Any more public comment on agenda items only?
This relate to the letter I submitted?
Ted, would you like a period during the reading of,
Sure.
communications petitions? to do
Okay.
this? Okay. Any more public comment? Seeing none, we will close the podium and move into the consent agenda. On the consent agenda, we've got approval of bills, city and BPU claims of March 17th, payroll of March 17th, city council minutes of March 21st, Dane Park use agreement reception, Hillsdale College alley closure, Central Hall Palooza, Hillsdale College right-of-way closures and noise variance commencement, current office solution printer copier leases, March 2022 board of review minutes, and assessors annual reports. Before we discuss anything on the consent agenda, I just want to thank the board of review for their stellar work, and I know it's a big commitment to be on that board, but a couple community members really stepped up so we could have a meeting this year, and it's very much appreciated. Any discussion on any of the items on consent agenda? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve consent agenda. Motion on the floor from Councilman Morrissey, seconded by Councilman Soha. May I please have roll call vote, City Clerk?
Councilmember Reiner,
Yes.
Beer,
Yes.
Morrissey,
Yes.
Sharp,
Yes.
Stuchel,
Yes.
Pratt. Yes. Sizer,
Yes.
Mayor Stockford,
Yes.
Councilperson Soha.
Yes.
All approved.
Thank you, Katie. We will move on to communications petitions, and item A is Hillsdale Community Library newsletter information. I hope you all had a chance to read that. Don't we have a representative from the library with us tonight? Would you like to take the podium briefly?
So we've had a significant increase in patrons in the month of March. So we have moved our hours from Monday to Thursday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and then Friday from 10 a.m. to 5. And then starting May 7th, we're going to add Saturday hours, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And then we also have a local author coming in April, and then we have a local author fair that we'll announce more on starting June 18th.
Awesome. Can you state your name for the record, ma'am?
Brianna.
Brianna?
Yes.
Okay, any questions for Brianna? Thank you, Brianna. That was item A. Item B is delinquent personal property report. Dave, did you have anything to add to this?
No, I think it's the cover letter to this is pretty self-explanatory. This is from the city treasurer, Peter Merritt.
Okay. Item C in communications petitions is Hillsdale Township letter. There's a letter in here from Jackie Sullivan, and it is in regards to the flooding that happened, actually Jack had spoke of earlier. Anything that you have to add to this one, Dave?
No, just that we received the letter, and it is something that is being evaluated from our insurance carrier. But I think it's, the only thing I would like to add is, one of the things that has not openly come out about this particular event is that a lot of the water that was carried through the airport property from drainage ways along the road. So our property was flooded from other properties. It's just we tend to be the biggest owner there on the south side of the road. So
Yeah.
that's all being evaluated by the insurance carrier before they decide what direction to go.
Awesome. Any questions for Dave regarding this item? Thank you, Dave. We'll move on. Item D in communications petitions is Mindy Meyer letter. And Mindy's with us tonight. So Mindy, do you want to read your letter?
This is a letter I wrote in regards to just Hillsdale as a community. I feel that it needs to be said, so I'm speaking up. City Council and citizens, below are concerns happening in Hillsdale. The Hope House for Men is a drug rehabilitation facility receiving government funds located at 2 North Howell Street, Michigan, across from the courthouse on the main block downtown in Hillsdale Historic District. Starting from 7 a.m. multiple times through the day, up until 10 p.m., residents in the program gather outside with staff on the main business sidewalk, behind the building, and in the parking lot, taking breaks and smoking cigarettes. People from town who I've known for years, asked me, who is the group of people hanging out next to your building? Not one person I have spoke with, really, probably should read, not one person I have talked with, not associated with the program, thinks the facility should be in the downtown area. Recently, the Hope House was presented with another location. The other proposed location offered room for expansion, more bathrooms for participants, and had an outside area. The Hope House manager did not look at the location, even though stating that she would move if another location would become available in the council meeting. There has been an incident that happened in the back of my building at Venue 8 in the driveway next to where they take breaks in the back, or have taken breaks in the back. A prior participant of the Hope House in the middle of the driveway appeared to be very drug-induced state of mind. He was a prior participant of the Hope House that I will interject. I heard from Kelly herself, the part of the thing. And so 911 was called, the police came, and they did remove him from the property. It is, and it is, and it's just not desirable, and even at some of the language at times. The Hope House is not a business open to the public. It is a business assisting a group of people in a rehabilitation transitioning facility. This is not about the people in the program or the program itself. It is about the location. As a concerned citizen and downtown business owner, I would like to know if there are any legislative zoning codes or other legal venues to assist in relocating a rehabilitation center from the center of the business district. The government gives funding for the Hope House to be successful, and they give funding for businesses to be successful. In my opinion, these are tax dollars counterproductive to one another. The next city council meeting is on May 4th, 2022. I will be there to voice my concerns and welcome anyone with input to come. Please email your feelings, experiences, and general feedback to soccerforhillsdale@gmail.com, preferably before May 4th, 2022. Yeah, I just, even the person in my back area there, that came and, you know, I feel sorry. But he was in the program prior, which I think is a consequence. And really this whole letter, is my opinion, is a consequence of it being located there. And like you say, people I talk to, I've handed this out to business people in town. Not anybody cares for them to be there that I know of. And it's just, as a community as a whole, when people are coming to town and stuff, I just would like to see what I need to do to get maybe more things going, how many people, petitions maybe, or are there legal venues? But I just want to make a statement that, in my opinion, it's not helping businesses at all. So that's pretty much it.
Thank you, Mindy. Is there any questions for Mindy?
Not for me, that's comments.
Sure. Okay, no questions, Mindy.
Okay, thank you.
I'm good. I don't have any question for you.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Stuchel?
Yeah, I just want to share, I had a discussion with the district judge this weekend, actually, who says he refuses of sending people to the Hope House because they've got drugs in the Hope House. They've had a couple of cases where they've had drugs in the house itself. So the Hope House itself did not discipline its own house. And so he refuses to send any more clients there. Plus, the clients, the residents who live there are mostly from Detroit or Grand Rapids. They're not our local people. They're not our neighbors that we're trying to help. So I really want to challenge you, Mayor, and this council. We have had a number of complaints about this for a long time. I mean, it's constant. Nobody can deny that. Nobody likes to see this. And the Tifa board.
Sorry, Councilman Stuchel.
The Tifa board's mission is business, economic, and infrastructure development downtown. That's their purpose. And yet the owner of the Coke House sits on Tifa. And that's just a slap, I mean, that's an additional slap in the face. I'm asking you because we serve, members have served at your privilege. And I'm asking that you rescind that membership and we can vote that how we want to do it. But we need to take the owner off of the Tifa. He has no business on that board because he doesn't understand or he doesn't care about economic development downtown. He doesn't care or he doesn't understand. He needs to come off Tifa. We need to show support for downtown Hillsdale and for Miss Mindy here. We need to show support, and we cannot allow that to happen.
Thank you, Councilman Stuchel.
And also too, I have talked to other business owners and stuff, and I just got this letter together on the 30th, and I will be able to come back with more argument or statements that may even be more worthy of learning.
Thank you, Mindy.
We need to do this tonight. I'm not talking about something about, we can make this motion right now tonight to remove him from the Tifa.
I'm not prepared to remove anybody from the board tonight, right on the spot. I don't want to do business that way up here. I'm not completely dismissing you or your concerns. Did you have something else?
Just one other interjection on the owners of the building. I did present these copies to them before the meeting tonight and told them that it was not my desire for the Hope House to be there too and stuff. Because I did want them to have, you know, full knowledge of what was happening, that nothing's sliding behind the back door or anything either. I prefer to have an open subject on this. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mindy. And we can absolutely have an open discussion. Wasn't, as you being the council representative on TIFA, Councilman Stuchel, wasn't there? Tom?
with respect to the issue of removing someone tonight, at any rate, you need to understand that there are restrictions on your ability to remove a member appointed to the TIF board under the tax increment finance section of the TIF Act.
Not for character, not for cause.
It's for cause, but they're also entitled to a hearing in front of the body.
Let's set it up.
Well, what I was gonna say was I thought that TIFA had held, that at one time there was discussion of a vote to send a request from the board to remove Lance Lashaway as a member of TIFA, and that motion failed from the TIFA board. Is that correct?
I'll check with Drew, but I don't recall that.
Okay. Well, I can check with Drew too.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, sir. Any more discussion on this item?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Soha?
Thank you. So, this has been a thorn in the side of the downtown district since its inception. There was an opportunity for the Hope House to take a different location. I don't know what agreements they're in with the owner of the building. That notwithstanding, as Ms. Meyer wrote in her letter, she refused to even look at the property, stating she was looking to buy property somewhere else to me, and didn't want the inconvenience of having to move. I would like to remind council that she stated from that podium right there, when I asked her directly, when this all first started coming down, would you be willing to move if a place was found? She said yes, but she didn't even entertain the offer. I think that's very unfortunate. I think it's unfortunate that the building's owner, proprietor, isn't willing to help facilitate the move of the business to another location. I would agree with Councilman Stuchel that it's not in the best interest of our downtown district. And I call on, I can't remember which board, but I would ask the city manager or you, Mr. Mayor, to remind me which board would be the one that would address an ordinance to prevent something similar happening in the future. I know we can't do anything ex post facto, but could you? That is the planning commission.
It would be the planning commission, and that's really where, you know, everybody can agree or disagree that that's a good or not a good location for it. I wouldn't disagree with you guys that it's not a good location for something like that. But what we have is we have zoning and code enforcement issues that we enforce on buildings downtown, and then we also have like a moratorium on certain sorts of businesses. So if somebody passes all the zoning, if somebody can be in a place in regards to the zoning there, and also there's no moratorium on the business, then legally, our hands are pretty much tied. So I am not disagreeing with aesthetics, or not disagreeing with what you would call, I guess, like downtown culture. I'm not saying that that's not disruptive down there, or that's not productive to the other businesses down there. I haven't had a lot of complaints about the Hope House on a personal level since maybe the last 4 or 5 months. A hair cutter and then Mindy, that doesn't mean that the complaints are happening and I'm not hearing about them. So I don't want to appear to be dismissing anybody's concerns. I just want council to tread carefully when we talk about trying to remove somebody's business from downtown when we don't have legal standing on zoning grounds or on something that we've had a moratorium for.
So may I clarify?
You may.
I've never advocated for the forceful removal of the Hope House. I'm not advocating for the forceful removal of the Hope House. I was hoping that they would be reasonable and respect their neighbors. to this end, they haven't done that, in my opinion. I do just want to urge council to take some action so that this doesn't happen again in the downtown district in the future. We do have the farmer's market coming up. We had ladies come last year and express to council that they don't want to go down there with their grandchildren anymore because of the men that loiter in front of that building. And as I understand, they're not walking around to the back anymore. They're loitering in the front on the street, smoking multiple times a day.
And it might be that I haven't heard anything because it's been winter and people aren't out and about like they are in summer, and when summer happens, people get out and they're on the sidewalks and they want to visit the downtown. So that could be the case completely.
Just want to keep it at the forefront of council's attention.
Can I make one more comment?
You may, we're still on this agenda item.
Okay, yeah. When I have talked to other city businesses and stuff, when I went into their store this last time, they were saying, you know, we've already talked, you know, we've asked for city council to do stuff and whatever, and I said, you know, well, let's, you know, just try to bring it back up. I saw it, I know it's on the weekend, and now Monday is the appointment, but, I will definitely try to, bring more forefront to the thing, and I totally understand the legalities too. Thank you.
Thank you, Mindy. Thank you for coming tonight. Yes, sir.
One more report.
You may.
I officially ask the planning commission to consider drafting an ordinance that would address the housing situation in the downtown district.
Sure. Is that a motion?
I move, yes.
Do I have a second? Second. Motion on the floor from Councilman Soha, seconded by Councilman Morrissey, to send to the planning commission to explore options for new zoning amendments in the downtown district, with Councilman Morrissey being our representative, having a clear understanding of what council's talking about right now.
I do.
Okay? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Any more discussion on this item? Councilman Beer.
This one might be addressed to Tom, and just because currently at Davis Middle School, the high school, there's no smoking allowed on the grounds. And I'm just wondering if the city of Hillsdale, we could, on the public parking in areas of the sidewalks and such, do something like an ordinance that the high schools or the public schools have taken.
That's a good question, Councilman Beer.
I don't know that you could. The school is different because there's a specific act that allows schools to declare it a tobacco-free zone. It's just like there's a special act that allows them to declare a drug-free school zone. So what the school is able to do is different from what the municipality itself may be able to do. But probably there may well be a way in which you could pass an ordinance that would in certain areas not allow people to smoke. Now, that's not how happy people would be if you did that. It might be another story, but I can check into that and see if you have the authority to do that under Michigan law. And several states municipalities do, but I don't know whether or not you do.
Well, and that kind of comes from the standpoint that the fact that the city was preemptive in outlawing marijuana dispensaries, you know, and not
Yes.
allowing that, even though it's legal in the state, and just which.
But again, there's a statute that says you can opt out of that, and there's also a statute that says you can adopt an ordinance to prohibit it from being smoked in public, in a public place. So the question would be, I don't know that there's a state statute that deals specifically with smoking, and if there's not, you may very well have general authority to do that from the ordinance perspective.
But also currently, I mean, people are not allowed to smoke in City Hall. They're not allowed to smoke in the BPU or the buildings that the city.
Right, to the extent those are public property, the difference with your sidewalk areas is those are just within your right of way, they're not actually public property. So you may be able to do it in a public place and you may not, I have to check, I can't tell you all.
I know you can't smoke in the parks anymore, and that's public property.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's because that's public property, so
Okay.
there's a difference between public property and the sidewalks. You don't own the sidewalks are part of a right of way that the city has.
Okay.
Just like the street, they're part of the street right of way. And we do have authority to regulate the use of those, I just don't know how broad it is, whether or not it's covered smoke.
Did you have something else, Mindy?
It was just, legalities on smoking. I didn't know if apartments above the buildings, when the smoke comes into them, if that is an issue or not. When people are living upstairs, the smoke are coming into the building.
Yeah, I don't know. That's
Yeah,
a
just-
good neighbor issue, you know?
Just to throw out there, yeah.
Just a thought.
Thank you. Any more discussion on this item?
Mr. Mayor?
I don't,
Can I
I'm
address
unaware of who you are, sir.
My name is Charles Porter. I'm a resident of Hillsdale.
Okay.
May I address the panel?
You can during public comment. Are you
Okay.
a representative of the Hope House, or
Yes.
Yes, yes,
you're a representative of the Hope House?
yes.
Okay, you can take the podium.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I'd like to address you today. The Hope House, I understand the concern, and Councilman Stuchel, I understand that your concern was drugs were brought into the facility. Drugs can be brought in here too, okay? It's not a specific, okay, they brought them in, that did or may or may not have happened, okay? The situation is, there's a great epidemic within our society, here in Hillsdale, with drugs, okay? I used to be a hopeless dope addict, and now I'm a dopeless hope addict, okay? I have hope because of these people here, okay? I'm very passionate about this, and yes, it will bring me to tears. I've been struggling with drugs for many years, 20 plus years, okay? And I understand the issues that they have, but as a community, we have to come together and be a part of the solution and not a part of the problem. It's not the people that are in the house, it's the people that are walking the streets that are struggling with drug addiction, okay? And you see it every day. If you want to turn a blind eye to it, that's fine. I mean, but for me, I cannot do that. And I really would like to challenge, yes, the facility is above the businesses, and we're not so intimidating. Maybe when we first come in, we look a little beat up, and that's it. You can expect that, okay? But I've been there for 3 months, and I don't look so intimidating, do I? I mean, they give hope to us. They give us a better way to think, a better way to live, and I'm gonna fight for that. And I'm going to be a part of the solution and not the problem. And I hope that we can come together today and see that it's not necessarily just a problem. This is a solution that we have to look at and not continue to put a blind eye to the problem that's in this city, and it's here. Okay, because I know that there's drugs in this city. I live here. Okay, and I don't know. I just wanted to address the panel. I'm very passionate about it. I've lost my sister, my parents, and I don't want to lose anybody else.
No, that's okay. And thank you for coming up and speaking, but I think you're missing, I don't think anybody's saying they're not supportive of what the Hope House does. I think it's the congregating on the sidewalk.
Correct.
And the business owners, I think it's the congregating on the sidewalk in the business district of several men, all smoking at the same time, smoke blowing into, and look, I'm a smoker, I walk down the sidewalk and smoke too. But I think that it's ongoing issues that don't have anything to do with the mission, what the mission of the Hope House is. I think it has to do with behavior, and I think it has to do with congregation on the sidewalk of several men. I drove down there today, I was out and I saw it, like 5 guys standing right there on the sidewalk smoking. And that's not illegal, but
And we are asked to be very respectful when we see somebody come. We back out and say, "Excuse me." It's not like the men in our party. We the people. I am part of that people. Drug addicts are people. And we do want to change. It's a disease, and there's some things that I heard, and I just wanted to address it because it hurts my heart to hear that people may think that way about individuals. Because I am a brother, I'm a father, I'm a cousin. You know, I'm very close to individuals, and it could be in your family also. And I just wanted to address it because I'm very passionate about it.
It's fine. This is a long time we've been talking about this now, and I was hoping that everybody could just be good neighbors and we could have some sort of solution that was courteous to everyone involved.
Yes, sir.
And so, I mean.
Thank you for letting me address the panel.
Yes.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you. Any more discussion on this item?
I would like to give you a little scenario. I think, like you said, man, we're all for helping people. That's not what we're about. Just like when you build a house, you don't put your bathtub in the dining room. Okay? That's what we have. And we just need to put things in its proper place. We want to support it, but not downtown.
Thank you, Councilman Stuchel. Any more discussion? Okay. We'll move on. Item E in communications petition, Ted Jansen letter. Ted.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council, I'll read the letter, official letter. Honorable Mayor Stockford and esteemed members of Hillsdale City Council. This was on March 30th, 2022. The events that occurred on March 21st involving Ashley Beam and others has been a source of speculation and division as to the professional conduct of officers Holtz and Sims. Transparency is the key for public support of our police department. I believe the best way to achieve such transparency and develop a greater, more secure trust of our citizens toward our law enforcement officers is to have all the videos reviewed by independent individual with the expertise in fields of de-escalation and professional policing policies. If there were any areas that could be improved through this review process, our law enforcement officers and community would benefit greatly and provide a deeper trust and respect in our police department as we strive to do our best for one another. Please place this on the April 4th, 2022 council agenda for further discussion. That goes further, attaches a 13-page policy directive from Washington County Prosecutor regarding resisting and obstructing for your perusal. Mayor already has a copy, and the city manager stated he was aware that this document existed, which we're not going to read the 13-page. Okay, good evening. Mr. Mayor, council members, Mr. Mackey. I would like to first state that in reference to the behavior as seen on the videos of 3/21/22 by Andy Bailey, I find it to be disrespectful, despicable, and disgusting toward our law enforcement officers. I do not in any way, shape, or form endorse such treatment toward our leals or any public servant or individual. It was rude, crude, ignorant dude. I just wanted to clear any aspirations that I do not stand as a bleeding heart progressive. I stand here as a concerned citizen over the events of 3/21/22. I have requested that this event be examined by an independent individual with the expertise in de-escalation because I feel that this just got out of hand. First of all, the original call was about the music. On Officer Holt's cam video at 56 seconds, it was about the profane lyrics that was disturbing the peace of others. At 1 minute 12 seconds, the individual offered to change to a different genre after turning down the volume. At 1:24, Holt states that it was the business owners complaining because of their customers complaining about their lyrics. At 2 minutes 40 seconds, Holt states that the volume was not the issue. At 2:44, quote, "You are disturbing somebody's peace," which he repeated. At 3:14, Sims threatened him with getting a warrant for disturbing the peace. At 3:46, Holt reiterates that you have violated the law, disturbing the peace with loud music, which contradicts his statement made at 2 minutes 40 seconds. During these exchanges, there was much vulgarity from Mr. Bailey about this. Like it or not, the First Amendment protects Mr. Bailey's right to play his vulgar, profane music in public. This does not provide the basic elements required for disturbing the peace arrest. Mr. Bailey's vulgar language elicited a response from Officer Sims, who warned him to watch your mouth, young man. Yes, this disrespectful speech is objectionable and very undeserving. However, this speech is also protected speech as defined by the U.S. Supreme Court. There's also the disparaging words directed at Mr. Bailey from Officer Holtz. At 10:20, smartass. 11:09, come on over here and step up to the plate, son. I'm standing right here. 11:20, you want a shot at the title? 11:23, stop running your mouth, punk. 11:30, you're a 160-pound meth bag. 12:03, step up to the plate, son. I'm standing right here. There was more unnecessary banter between them. Inviting a citizen to step up and fight a Leo hopefully is not standard operating procedure. There's also the issue concerning Officer Sims increasing the tension with his voice and moving on at Mr. Bailey as he was moving back. I'm not even going to render any opinion on this. This is for the expert to assess. However, de-escalation should have been ongoing since initial contact. Also at issue was the need to pepper spray the dog because of her alleged aggressiveness. The dog was seen on most of the video, backing away with its tail between its legs, not charging. The pepper spray did damage the left inner ear. My concerns are multiple. First Amendment lawsuits, the need to de-escalate the situation, and to exercise professionalism with every citizen encountered, no matter how disrespectful that person may be. I would ask the council to request Mr. Thompson address the issues concerning First Amendment rights, and also have an independent expert review these videos in order to improve our level of professionalism and service to our citizens. I would also like to note that 39 states do require de-escalation training. However, Michigan is not one of them as of August 2021. We should move forward and not wait for a state mandate on this essential training. Thank you, and I will give a copy of this to the clerk for the record. I'm done.
Thank you, Ted. Appreciate your letter.
And just one thing, I've always been a supporter of the police department, and I'm not here to bash them. I really respect them and stand behind them. But we need to address this issue for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Ted. Any discussion on this item before we move on? Councilman Zola?
So, I appreciate what you said, Ted. I mean that sincerely. But I asked to be told approximately how many calls the police have had to that house. And I was told there's been at least 80 calls in the last 4 years to that one location. 80 in one location in a town of 8,500 people. That's pretty dramatic. I wholeheartedly disagree with the argument that the First Amendment protects somebody to be right to be vulgar in public. It goes against the whole entire concept of personal responsibility. You can't tell me the founders in their arguments were saying that a man has the right to be vulgar. And Chief Hefner and City Manager Mackey, they have a grasp of the situation and of the men and women that work for them, and they're men of integrity. And I completely appreciate their, how they've addressed the situation. And to your point, Mr. Jensen, they are working on de-escalation training for the officers. What you failed to mention was the 10 minutes before the video that went viral, the man's continued badgering, vulgarity, and incitement of Officer Sims. I don't understand why that's acceptable and that's okay to completely insult and berate an officer of the law, irregardless of your feelings towards the man. That's acceptable. Allow our police to be berated, maligned, and cussed at for minutes upon minutes upon minutes with lies. They never touched the dog. They never touched it. And then they're the ones that are in the wrong because they're holding a young man accountable for his actions. That's not a community that I want to represent. One that thinks that vulgarity in public is constitutionally protected. And as a matter of fact, I'd like to read an ordinance to you. Hillsdale, since that seems to be the flavor of our accountability partner. Hillsdale Ordinance, Section 22-126, language or gestures causing public disorder. A person shall be deemed guilty of a misdemeanor if, with the purpose of causing public danger, alarm, disorder, or nuisance, or if his conduct is likely to cause public danger, alarm, disorder, or nuisance, such person willfully uses abusive or obscene language or makes an obscene gesture to any other person when such words by their very utterance inflict injury or tend to incite an immediate breach of the peace and invade the right of others to pursue their lawful activities. I would say unequivocally that man was guilty of that, at the very least. All he had to do was stay on his porch and let the officers deal with the dog. He chose not to. He got arrested for that choice. I stand behind our officers, I stand behind Chief Hefner and the manager in this incident.
Thank you, Councilman Solak. Councilman Sharp?
I had the opportunity of seeing the whole video, not just parts that were edited. There was a lot of incitement there was a lot of vulgarity, a lot of bad language being thrown out. That was not shown when you have it edited. I stand by my police. It is not the council's job to hire and fire police officers. That is not our job. We will back our public departments, police, fire, street department, BPU. We will always back them because they're the backbone of the city. What happened was out of control. They've been there numerous times, that is true. So I see no problem here. I see the transparency there. If you watch the whole body camera view, the whole time, you'll see what happened. Yes, there could have been de-escalation there on both sides, but it wasn't going that way. It got out of control and just kept going. So I'm with Robert. I agree 100%.
Thank you.
Any more? Thank you, Councilman Sharp. Any more council comment? Councilman Zeiser.
This doesn't really speak to the larger issue, but as to the music, I happened to be a couple of days after this incident visiting my insurance salesman, and the same guy was listening to music, and it was loud as if you were at a concert hall from across the street. So, I mean, regardless of the lyrics or whatever, I can't see how that wouldn't satisfy some sort of legal definition of disturbing the peace or some similar. I think people forget that because everyone wants to talk about rights, but rights come with corresponding duties. So you have the right to listen to music, but you kind of have the duty not to disturb the peace. And so there is a trade-off there, and I think sometimes we forget that. People who don't want to have their businesses blasted with that have equal rights. And as I've said time and time again, rights come into conflict very often, and it's usually complicated to navigate that.
It's true, Councilman Zeiser, and thank you. And I can't believe anybody would want to go into law enforcement anymore in this day and age. It's a shame what's happened. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. You can't win.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do have, the ordinance is 55 decibels. So all they have to do is get a decibel meter from the property line and go up there and that's it, boom.
Yeah, I promise you it was over 55.
Also, in the city ordinances, you can cite the owner of the property when there is continuous violations of disturbing the peace. And you might want to look at that as a recourse to take care of the problem.
Thank you, Ted.
Okay, but I'm just stating what the Supreme Court says about the First Amendment. I don't agree with it either, but if you go and bust a guy for lewd lyrics, you're gonna have a federal lawsuit, it's gonna cost the city money. And we can't legislate that out with ordinances. In fact, you have lewd language, can't, even though there exists in the city ordinance, that ordinance may not be, was created before the most recent Supreme Court decisions. So that's all I'm saying, I'm just gonna get this
Okay.
straight here too.
Okay, it's fine. Thank you for coming tonight, thank you for
Okay.
adding it to the packet, and, you know, I think it was a very well publicized event, and, you know, I know Chief Hepner received probably a dozen threats over the last week, including to his life, and I did the same. I had people dox me and try to say on the internet where my job was at, so I could be confronted there, and it was a highly publicized incident, and I think let's put it past us, and I trust the chief to handle his officers how he sees fit, and I have my own feelings about the whole incident, which were in the Hillsdale Daily News if you're interested. Otherwise, anybody else have anything to add? Councilman Zeiser?
An electric lawnmower runs at 75 decibels, it's near whisper quiet. A regular lawnmower runs at 90. I guarantee this was over 55 decibels. I'm speaking over 55 decibels now.
There's an exception in the ordinance for that type of.
Well,
Ted, that's your warning, sir.
and again, though, that's a perfect example. I mean, we're talking about rights in terms of this person who's creating disturbance. Everyone else has rights. And so we do need to negotiate between those. Normal people have rights too. Contributing members of society have rights too.
Yes. Any more discussion on this item? All right, we'll move on. We've got no introduction, adoption of ordinances, public hearing. We'll move into the only item in old business, 4th of July parade application. So attached is Teresa Rutan's 4th of July permit application. The second application, which was submitted by the hospital, was rescinded at the request of the applicant. Dave, did you have anything else to add to this?
No, you have the right-of-way permit in front of you for either approval or not. We did add on there that the parade will clean up after themselves. Last year, we did receive a number of complaints from the horses that left their presence, and it was not picked up. And so we have received a number of complaints from the business owners and from patrons downtown. So we just made that very clear in the application that they are expected to clean up after themselves. That is all I have.
Okay, any discussion on this item, gentlemen, ladies?
Are they in agreement, Mr. Mayor? There's a group that, what you said, are you in agreement with that?
Teresa,
Teresa?
cleaning it up after the horse poo?
I don't think it should be my responsibility. I mean, if I'm bringing a horse, I'm gonna clean up, but whoever does should be cleaning up. But if this is gonna be
Okay, but
considered,
that's
if
one
this
of
is
the
gonna- if
things
this is
about
gonna be-
organizing the parade.
if this is gonna be a thing where, yes, we're cleaning up, or no, we're not, it says we can't, I will make arrangements to make sure people clean up after their horses.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any discussion on this item? Councilman Stuchel?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I did have a meeting with J.J. Hutshire and talked to him a little bit last week. I know he did for a while, but that was a meeting he wouldn't come back into. And with that, I would like to really express my concern about approving this permit. And I'd really like to use this organization's own motto, if you will, as my reasoning. I have just a photograph I'll pass around that shows, I believe it's the Fair Group. Side of another venue where they're selling t-shirts and signs and whatnot. The sign in question, it says Hillsdale, large letters. You can't read it in sign very small, but it says Hillsdale versus everybody. And basically it says Hillsdale Republican Party versus everybody. Well, I can't imagine
I'm giving an indication.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, I can't imagine a local business like the Market House or Galbraith or anybody putting, us versus everybody. And the parade should be all inclusive, include everybody. What their intent was with the Market House and the Business Association downtown and the hospital was to honor our police officers, our firefighters, our nurses and our doctors, and especially one young nurse that actually died of COVID, and to show honor for them, for what they were standing on that line who protects the community, who stands there for the community. And again, when you look at the Market House, the hospital, downtown Hillsdale, I don't ever remember those places not being here. Those are the pillars of our community. It's not a flash, it's not a political thing. These are the pillars that help feed us and take care of us. And I really think we need to really seriously reject this permit, and with the hope, and I'm sure that these codes will come back with request to have a parade.
Thank you, Councilman Stuchel. Any more discussion on this item? Councilman Beer.
The only thing I can say is that the permit was not applied for by the Republican Party. And if we're gonna deny it because of party affiliation, we're going down
That's not my point. My point is this group, it says, I mean, yeah, it says Republican Party on it, but Hillsdale doesn't verse anybody. And I can guarantee you, I bet you my ballot looks very close to theirs when we vote. And I'm appalled by the fact that Hillsdale Republican Party versus everybody. That's a very separatist statement. It's their logo, I didn't write it, it's their logo. Why would you do that? It's an intent, it's a show purpose, it's to show division. It's my way or no way. And even 2 weeks ago, when we had our council meeting, they were outright, I would say, demanding to have this. I'm just asking, and I'm just saying, we have strong people in this community, which is Pride on, that represents everybody.
Councilman Beer.
I am so sorry that you have that
I'm
opinion.
sorry, this is not a debate, Mayor.
I am just saying, I'm sorry that you have that opinion, but this application was not submitted by the Republican Party. It was submitted by me, Teresa Rutan.
What we'll do, Teresa, is let council talk, and then if you want to follow it up with something, that way we have some sort of order. But it's still your agenda item, so I'm not telling you that you can't talk.
I appreciate that.
Trying very hard to keep some sort of order. And so we'll let council have it out.
Okay.
You can stay at the podium if you like. And then anybody can ask you questions. If somebody asks you a question directly, feel free to answer it. Otherwise, if council can have their discussion, and then if you want to follow it up before we vote, that would be fine. Does that sound fair?
That's fair.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Beer?
I would just say though that through the conversation last council meeting and the group that wants to sponsor this parade has basically put an open invite for anybody else that wants to participate. Now, just because some on this council don't think that group should be the first choice, well, it's the only choice that this council has at present. And of course, if we deny it, then we're saying, okay, someone else, because you're not worthy. I think it's a really bad precedent to basically establish. And they've done it the last 2 years, and as far as I'm knowledge of, I don't think we had any, aside from the horse droppings that were left. That's why but other than the behavior was not unbecoming of a parade, I don't think, I think we're making a lot out of basically taking their affiliations to host this and not just, it's an individual that wants to do this, that did the last 2 years during the pandemic when everybody else was not willing to take the risk. And I think we should just, if it isn't broke, as Will Morrison said in the last council meeting, I don't see why we need to fix it.
I don't think we can deny it because we approved it. We've approved it the last 2 years. And if we were going to deny it, we should have denied it in 2020 or 2021. That being said, I am upset that the other party withdrew their application because I know that I also met with JJ myself, and I know that he wanted to do something that was good for the community and something to unite everybody. And the one thing that he absolutely did not want was drama and bickering and fighting, and that's exactly what ended up happening. And then they withdrew their application to stay out of that mix. And I feel like if we were to deny this application, not only do we not have a real good basis to do it, but there would be cries of corruption and discrimination, and it would be an injustice to the hospital who withdrew their application exactly to avoid that, because they did not want any more drama. And I feel like we're just gonna keep perpetuating it.
May I ask Ms. Rotan a question?
You may.
After hearing the mayor said and how the hospital, Mark House, all these great institutions in our community will really be put on this parade.
I'm sorry,
We put on this parade for the community, for everybody, to honor our firefighters, our police officers, our nurses and doctors, who were there for us, protect us during COVID, who were there on that thin line, they're there. Would you be willing to back off and not have this pass, so they could step forward and have their parade?
No, because I asked them that I would be willing to work with them and help support to make a great parade for the community. I reached out, just like you folks had asked, for them to participate. I did. She chose to write back and say that she was probably withdraw her application. I emailed back and said, I am sorry to hear that. That's not my intention. I'm looking to make something great for the community, and this would be a huge event.
I just asked.
Any more discussion? Councilman Briner.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in favor of this. If there was two applications still, obviously we would have to vote on it, but now with the other party basically backing out, just because they don't want to cause any drama or anything like that, you know, I don't see a basis for us to deny this application. I obviously like the other one, you know, and just because of the event that they were having afterwards for the community and free hot dogs, and also giving the city money to, you know, put towards staffing for the police department and whatnot. But I don't think we can deny this application with the other patrol. It's just my thought.
Any more discussion about it, Councilman Soha?
So last time I spoke, I was defending you guys, and I still do. I mean, I appreciate what you did the last 2 years. What I wish would have happened when you learned that the hospital and the college and Market House was willing to put it on is that you would have withdrawn. Because they are pillars in the community. And I think, yeah, for 2 years they did not do it, but it would have not been, it wouldn't have had the appearance of being the Republican Party. It wouldn't have had the appearance of the divisiveness that Councilman Stuchel spoke of, and appearances are important. So I've been wavering for the last 2 weeks. I've been struggling with this very difficultly. I'm inclined to agree with Councilman Briner though this evening, because I don't want to see any more division in our city over this, because I do want a patriotic parade to celebrate our nation's independence to happen. So.
Any more discussion on this item? Did you have something to add, Councilwoman Pratt?
I don't think they should not do it. I mean, they had their application in first, correct?
Yes. Thank you, Councilwoman Pratt. Any more discussion?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Beer, seconded by Councilwoman Pratt. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Egg.
Can I have a roll call vote, please?
Councilperson Beer,
Yes.
Morrissey,
Yes.
Sharp,
No.
Stuchel,
No.
Pratt,
Yes.
Zeiser,
Yes.
Mayor Stockford,
Yes.
Councilperson Soha,
Yes.
and Briner.
Yes.
We have 7-2 approved.
Thank you, Katie.
Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. Okay, we will move on to new business. Item A, now this is just to set a public hearing for commercial rehabilitation exemption application for the Patilla Family Properties LLC. David, do you have anything to add to this?
No, Mayor, that's exactly what it's for, is to set the public hearing date for May 2nd at 7 p.m. and to direct the clerk to notify the applicant, the assessor and representatives of the affecting taxing units as required under the Act. Following the public hearing, within 60 days of receipt of the clerk, no later than May 28th, adopt a resolution either approving or disapproving the application. Must be set forth in the resolution. If approved, direct the clerk to forward the application to State Tax Commission before October 31st. So the only thing we have here today is to set the public hearing for May 2nd.
Okey-dokey. Any discussion on this item? Councilman Brenner?
Just, you know, the renovations and stuff to the facility, is gonna be good for our community. And I'm in support of it.
Thank you, Councilman Brenner. Any more discussion on this item? You guys want to set the date for May 2nd at 7 p.m.?
So, I'm.
How do you
Motion.
wanna do it?
I heard Councilman Soha. Motion on the floor from Councilman Soha, seconded by Councilman Sharp. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. We'll move on to item B, the proposed budget and setting of a public hearing. So the whole proposed budget is in here. Before we move any further, you guys want to do work sessions again this year on the budget? It's up to you guys.
If I may, Mayor,
Yeah.
I was gonna suggest, I think we can actually get through it in 2 hours in one night. The budget's, I feel the budget's very solid, and I think that you guys will be very, very pleased with what we've been able to accomplish. So if council would approve, I would, and we would also have the finance director available as well, Thursday, the 28th at 6 p.m.
28th of this month?
Yes.
For one work session. It's not mandatory, it's not a regular council meeting, it's to come if you want to ask questions about the budget. So,
7 p.m.
6 p.m. Is that okay, Councilman Beer?
So we're not broke?
I don't usually come to the work sessions, I usually just talk to Dave, talk to the department heads, and I have opportunity to, so. That would be here, yes. So April 28th at 6 p.m. And then, I will send out an email, and then you guys follow up, tell me if you think you can come or not, because if we can't get a quorum, then we don't want to hold you guys here late. So, like I said, I don't know. So,
What day is that on?
Thursday.
Is that considered the public hearing?
no, it would
So
be
then
just
that
a
would be
work
May
session. It gives council the opportunity, also the public, the opportunity to ask questions about the budget.
And then the next meeting.
Yeah,
May 16th.
yeah, so the second meeting in May, but, I mean, there's gonna be plenty of opportunities, if you aren't able to make that, you can ask questions at night, there's a public hearing at night. And our city administrators have really gotten good at streamlining the budget, so. I think that sounds good, Dave, we'll have a meeting April 28th at 6. I'll send out an email to everybody, tell me if you guys can make it or not. But tonight, we need to set the public hearing. And that would be for May 16th, our second meeting in May.
Support.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Sharp, seconded by Councilman Briner. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. We'll have a public hearing for our budget. Now I gotta get through our budget to get to the next item. Good job, though, Dave. It does really look really good.
It does include all our goals, capital expenditures.
No, I saw that.
And we're very pleased with the way it's turned out.
Okay. So we'll move on, new business, item C, city mowing contracts, types A, B, C, D, F, and H. Jake?
Good evening, council, mayor, city manager. So we've been bidding out this, we bid it out every 3 to 4 years. City mowing, it includes our parks, some roadsides, some traffic islands, around parking lots, various areas. By doing that, it allows us to keep our guys on track for things like crack filling, prepping for chip seals, and helping with other road work in the summer. This year was no different with one exception. We did add cemeteries to the RFP. We posted it on the Mitten site, the city social media, city website, and additionally provided 8 copies to local contractors. I say local within the county of Hillsdale. We don't have a lot of right here close ones. We received, as you can see from the bid tabs, we received bids from 5 different contractors. Some of them picked and chose certain areas. There are 3 major components. Type H was actually BPU, so that's why we're not talking about that tonight. I would expect David or Chris to bring that to you at a later meeting. So again, we would like to recommend, staff recommends that we'd like to go with Bill's Lawn Care for the A, B, C, D, F, again, which is parks, roadsides, parking lots, various city properties. Bill's Lawn Care currently holds that contract with us, and he's done a good job for us, and has also held it in the past in 11 through 14. And then we'd also like to recommend proceeding with TKC, which would be a new contractor for us. Through our vetting process, we found that they are already mowing several cemeteries in the area and understand those unique challenges presented by working in cemeteries. Headstones, weed whipping, things like that, and being careful to not damage stones, always blow your grass away from the stones as best you can, things like that to minimize issues. And again, it's a 3-year contract, so these totals again are for a full 3 seasons of that work.
Awesome. Any questions for Jake? Thank you, Jake.
Yeah.
Councilman Charter?
Bill's Lawn Care, I'm familiar with the owner and stuff, and they've done an excellent job in the years they've been here. They're timely, they're always there. I mean, you don't see the grass growing out of control, even with the rain and stuff, they make sure they get there, so definitely they're a good crew.
Yeah, they've done a really good job, especially working around special things at Field of Dreams, which can be a little bit tough at times. But yeah, they've always willing to help the community, switch some things around a little if they need to, if it's in the best interest of our groups. So yeah.
Any more questions for Jake? Thank you, Jake. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Motion to, you want it, Ray? I'll take it, I'll second.
Let Ray.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Ray Briner, seconded by Councilman Sharp, to approve Bill's Lawn Care for the lawn maintenance contract. May I have a roll call vote, City Clerk?
Councilperson Morrissey,
Yes?
Sharp,
Yes.
Stuchel,
Yes.
Pratt,
Yes.
Sizer,
Yes.
Mayor Stockford,
Yes.
Councilperson Soha,
Yes.
Briner,
Yes.
and Beer.
Yes.
Bill's Lawn Care is all approved.
Okay, and I need another motion for the cemetery.
So moved.
For TKC Lawn, Snow, and Wood.
I'll take that one, Ray. Second. Look that one.
Motion on the floor. Councilman Sharp, seconded by Councilman Morrissey, to award the cemetery to TKC Lawn, Snow, and Wood LLC. May I please have a roll call vote, Steve?
Councilperson Sharp,
Yes.
Stuchel,
Yes.
Pratt,
Yes.
Sizer,
Yes.
Mayor Stockford,
Yes.
Councilperson Soha,
Yes.
Briner,
Yes.
Beer,
Yes.
and Morrissey.
Yes.
9-0 approved.
Thank you, Katie. Okay, we'll move into new business item D, Traffic Control Order 2022-05. Chief?
Good evening. That traffic control order was actually requested of me last fall. That was part of the project between City of Hillsdale and Hillsdale College to improve along Barber Drive, where a sidewalk was added going out to Hayden Park. The south side of Barber Drive allowed along the athletic field or practice field to have a chain link fence, and it was known for people to park between the paved portion of the road and the fence. I want to say declined a lot. There were big drop-offs, pooling water, breaking blacktop there. And as part of that project, the fence was removed, the ground was replaced, leveled off, if you will, up to the edge of the blacktop travel portion of the roadway, with the agreement that Hillsdale College would maintain that terrace area, right-of-way area. But the fence is not being put back. There's now pedestrian passage down through there. And as part of that project was going to be no parking. I reached out to Hillsdale College Security, talked to Bill Worley. He said their plans, my questions to him were the public still using that practice field to the levels they used to when that whole street was filled with vehicles? The answer was no. I knew a lot of the youth soccer, all that type of stuff has been moved to the Fields of Dreams for years. Their plan is any public that does want to use those are more than welcome to use the drive off Barber Drive that goes in behind the football field, the softball field, that's an improved surface drive. They can use that to access. But I wasn't involved in the project planning, but since the inception of that beginning, the plans were for that to be no parking along the south side of Barber Drive along that practice field area for the reasons stated.
Very good. Any discussion on this item? Councilman Soha?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say I am completely in favor of this because it was all dirt and mud, and when the Hillsdale Academy would practice there, the kids would park there just because that was traditionally done. And I don't want to see the nice work, the grass, appreciate you mentioning the road deterioration. I hadn't even considered that. And there's plenty of parking behind the Beerman Center on the other side, so. Thank you, Chief.
And there had been a long-term plan that we developed probably before most of you were in council. Mr. Mackey was involved. It was about 6 years ago when we changed some parking on Union Street, and it had to do with buses that showed up at athletic events for Hillsdale College and where to put them. And from a long-term planning strategy was if Barber Drive was ever improved, the surface, that we would look at between the travel portion of the roadway and the chain link fence, improving that with blacktop for a parking area for the buses. But Hillsdale College has developed other plans for the buses. That's a non-issue anymore, so.
Any more questions for the chief?
That was the relays, the biggest one was.
Gina relays.
Yep, that was here, yep, I remember that. So that's good, we're making progress that way. So, I'll make a motion to support this.
Support.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Sharp to approve TCO 2022-05, seconded by Councilman Soha. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, we will move into proclamations. It is Autism Awareness Month again, so I will read the proclamation. Whereas autism is a developmental disability characterized by atypical development in socialization, communications, and behavior, and whereas the symptoms of autism typically are present before age 3 years and often are accompanied by abnormalities in cognitive, functioning, learning, attention, and sensory processing. And whereas autism affects 1 in every 44 children in the United States. Whereas autism is 4 times more likely to occur in boys than in girls. Whereas autism can affect anyone regardless of race, ethnicity, or other factors, and whereas the parents and relatives of individuals with autism are commended for their sacrifice and dedication in providing for the special needs of individuals with autism, and whereas the need for early intervention services begins soon after a child has been diagnosed with autism, because early intervention significantly improves the outcome for people with autism and can reduce the level of funding and services needed to treat people with autism later in life. And whereas the importance of worker training programs that are tailored to the needs of developmentally disabled persons, including those with autism, and note that people with autism can be and are productive members of the workforce if they are given appropriate support, training, and early intervention services. Whereas the U.S. House and Senate passed Resolution HCON Resolution 303, February 25th, 2008, recognizing the importance of autism awareness, of the need to support individuals with autism and the family members, teachers, physicians, and other professionals who care for individuals with autism, and whereas individuals with autism, like all other Americans, should have the opportunity to realize their ambition and lead rewarding lives. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Adam Stockford, Mayor of the City of Hillsdale, do hereby proclaim April 2022 as Autism Awareness Month in the City of Hillsdale. Any questions or discussions on this item? Alrighty. We'll move on to appointments. We've got 2 appointments tonight. The first is Dan LaRue to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Dan is the Finance Director at the Senior Center and also the Chairperson of the Hillsdale County Democrats. And then Heather Trichka to the Airport Advisory Committee. Heather, as you all know, is commander of the of the Civil Air Patrol. Heather's the commander of the Civil Air Patrol, and I would call her artist and philanthropist, and of course she's Councilman Stuchel's wife. So both of these appointments are good. Both of them will be assets to these boards. So any discussion on these? You guys want to do them both at the same time? Let's do them.
Motion to approve both. Support.
Motion on the floor. Man, you guys are quick on your feet tonight. Motion on the floor from Councilman Briner, seconded by Councilwoman Pratt, to appoint Dan LaRue to the Zoning Board of Appeals and Heather Trichka to the Airport Advisory Committee. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Welcome, Daniel and Heather. We will move to general public comment. During this time, the podium will be open. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Please limit your trips to 1 to the podium. Please be civil and respectful, and you may speak on anything your heart so desires. Podium's now open.
Joseph Hendy, 181 Rhea. On the vote, I think that Greg Stuchel should abstain from that, from his wife being put on the airport board, number 1. And then you talked about Mrs. Rutan over here having to clean up poop from the horses. And I'm just kind of wondering if there's anything in the ordinances, what happens if an Amish buggy comes downtown and stops at your store and poops on the street? I mean, you gonna make them clean it up too, or? And then I wanted to talk about BPU's Roundup program. It's a scam. It's predatory and it's stealing. The city's website does not say it's voluntary, nor does it say you can opt out. It doesn't even meet the definition of voluntary. You're automatically signed up for it, and like my wife said to me, they say they send you something in the mail when they sign you up for it, and you have the option to opt out. My wife said, prove it. Prove that you send me something in the mail. You can't, because you don't have no application, you don't have no signature, you don't even have a box that you can check on the bill that says that you can take it out for that month. You just automatically sign people up, and it's a scam.
We got a 35% poverty rate in the city of Hillsdale, and all these people being signed up for this program, a lot of them don't read their bills. When they pull the bill out, they just pay it. Not only that, you should be able to write it off. It's going to charity. Where's my tax ID? I should get something in the mail from the city or BPU. It's only $12 a year at the most, but another thing that really upsets me is we just had a scandal at BPU and embezzlement, and it's really, really easy for the accounting over there to make your bill low so they're maximizing on that roundup. I've looked at several people's bills, several. Mine was 57, another was 88, another one was 91, another one was 95. I don't trust BPU's accounting practices. I think they're shady, and you guys should bring this to the table and do something about it. Send us an application, send an application out. If people want to sign up for it, it's a good program. I'm not saying it's not. It's the way it's implemented. You guys are signing people up automatically for this program. They have no clue. It's stealing. That's all there is to it. And they can't even write it off because they don't know they can. They don't get no tax ID. I mean, when I donate to the church, I get a slip every year with a tax ID number on it that says I can, I can give that to my accountant and I can write that off. Consumers Energy has an application online for this program. You guys are stealing. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Any more public comment?
Well, my name Dennis Wayne Scott, 34 Garden. This is for Mr. Mackey and Chris. I tried a couple times to get a hold of you guys, and since I can't drive and get up there, I thought I'd have to bring it up here. And it has to do with the BPU as well. I'm sorry. But as a payee, I pay bills for a few people, and I'm having trouble with one of them is my nephew, and it has the same last name as mine, and we're having trouble with the BPU taking my money and either putting it on my account, which is all right, but when I pay his account, they want to put his money on my account. Now they keep telling me, well, I can put these numbers up here on the top of the check, but these are typed out by the bank. And I keep telling them I can't put the numbers up there. So I write it in the memo, and then I get the story back from the girl at the front end there saying, well, we don't have time to look at memos. So right now, my nephew is in the negative on his bill, and of course, I paid for his bill for last month or something, and he's at a negative, which is at his advantage. But how many more other people are running into the same problem? There's a few of us Wayne Scotts around, but not that many. How many more, if you're Jones or Smith or different others, are being done the same way? I think we need to have something or take the time to check these checks coming in, to check the numbers that's on there, or the name, or the memos that's on there. I realize you got a bunch of them coming in, but still, is it right for me having to pay somebody else's bill, or them paying for my bill? I just wanted to bring this out, and I wanted to try and do it with you guys, but because I haven't been able to get with you, I just brought it out here because it might be happening to you guys too, if you're a payee or if you pay people's bills for them. So that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Any more public comment?
Jack McLean. And I hope you councilmen see that there's a conflict between people on council and Lance. Lance is a businessman. He's renting a building. He has nothing to do with the Hope House, nothing to do whatsoever. So if Mr. Well, Mayor, let's say, is renting an apartment, which he does, and say it's to a sex offender, are you gonna say no to him too? I mean, Lance isn't doing anything wrong. He's a businessman. That's all he's doing. I mean, I don't know why he's been banished from the TIF or whatever you want to call it, because he doesn't get along with a TIFA member, or that member doesn't get along with him, whatever you want to call it. I mean, I think it's ridiculous. This is the part I talk about, people trying to get along with each other. That's never going to happen with certain people because they're just not in that mood. I heard last month, and I don't understand this either, that you guys were all volunteers. Well, I kind of looked that up in Webster, and volunteers don't get paid. You guys all get paid, so you're really not volunteers. And if you get paid $50 and you work 5 hours, that's $5 an hour. If you work 100 hours, then your hourly pay goes down. That's up to you guys. That's got nothing to do with anybody else. Figure it out. I mean, if you don't want to do extra work, you get your $50 or $100, so you made $50 an hour. But don't come up here and tell people that you're volunteers. The only thing you did was volunteered for the job. And my dad always said, why would people pay more to get a job by advertising than the job pays? Unless they're doing stuff under the table, of course, which, you know, that can be voting for somebody else or whatever you want to call it. I just don't understand that. There's a business across from the house that you guys were talking about. I know you, Mr. Socia said that it was been...
Soha.
Excuse me?
My last name's pronounced Soha.
Soha. I'm sorry, I didn't...
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I'm sorry about that. I didn't realize how to pronounce your name. That house has had many arrests, many. But I'll guarantee that there's probably been 20 different people in that house in the last 4 years. The music is so loud that the establishment across the road, you can't even really stand out in the parking lot and talk. But, you know, that's whatever goes on, you know. I mean, the guy that got arrested was doing some fabulous dancing for a couple days out on the porch with the music turned way up, all by himself, of course, but, you know, it's kind of a comedy show to watch it over there. I guess, with that being said, I mean, people are complaining about Lance and his people, then complain about those people, because the owner of that actually has it. That's his business, is renting that. So I just think Lance should be given a chance. I mean, he's trying to run a business. He's not supporting the Hope House. He's not affiliated with the Hope House in any way. He's just trying to run a business and rent. And if you're gonna restrict who you can have for renters, you need to look at everybody, not just the new person. Look at some of your old time renters here. I think there should be a proclamation of some sort. Okay, I'll finish this right now, because Mr. Sumnar, I was under the impression Chris was the first one to make an offer for the Kiefer House and the Dawn Theater. He should be recognized.
You're over time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more public comment?
Ted Jansen. To Teresa, I ran the Great American Parade for 4 years, and one year Doug Moon was running for office, and he probably got very good votes, because at the end of the parade he was the guy with the trash can, the scoop and the shovel, with the word on the trash can, "I'm here to clean up the poop." And it was just a matter of common courtesy to the citizens that, you know, you're going to have horses, you're going to follow up and clean up after them, plain and simple. So think about that. So whoever is going to run for office in November, there's an opportunity to be noticed, for sure. I'm glad there's brush pickup. I want Mr. Hamlin to note that at 46 River Street and 104 Hillsdale Street, my brush is put out. Last summer when we had that storm, there was a special pickup. My neighbor Doug next door picked up branches, put them on my parkway. And down at the corner of River Street and West Street, the man put his underneath the stop sign and they weren't picked up. I called Public Works about it, so I will check on it, and came back, well, the supervisor said they weren't there. You put those out after we picked up. It's always nice to be called a liar by the employees. So, take a look, it's there, expect it to be picked up. Also, in reference to that house on Waldron and Howe, since there is a city ordinance that says for residential 55 decibels for music, that kind of stuff, I would suggest that the city create notices and post them on the door of each apartment. You have been notified at 55 decibels, and hopefully you do have a decibel meter to read it. And when they exceed it, enforce the law, plain and simple. Rather than, well, the music's loud, you're gonna be arrested for disorderly conduct. I don't know how you tell the judge, well, how did you decide it was 55? Well, I just thought it was. And the last thing, Hope House has a stigma. And all dopers are evil, and we have to get them out of, not in our neighborhood, go to somebody else's neighborhood. And that's quite unfortunate thinking. And just for this, what happened with Ashley Bean and this Andy Bailey, Tyrant Cop had 111,000 views. Then in the city, post has 17,000 views. That's the notoriety that we don't need. Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. Any more public comment?
Hello, I'm Carla. I live in Hillsdale, Ward 4. So I wanted to bring up this same thing that Joe did. It's the Roundup program through BPU. Definition for voluntary: free or having power to act by choice, not being under restraint, as a man is a voluntary agent. I think that there should be a checkoff box, because if somebody can donate more, maybe they will. Maybe that month they don't want to. But I was wondering, with Jonesville, Hillsdale, and part of Osseo, the amount that's added up for the end of the year. Why can't we have a graph to show, hey, this is how much you guys contributed. This is what we used it for. So I called the Community Action Agency. She said that they only got it for that 1 year, even though BPU told me that they had sent it there each year. I have to pay $76, and I am on a low income family to get the information that I needed, which was how much money's been allocated, what it's being used for, and such. But my main concern is this: if our roads are under a special assessment and we can't afford it, we're automatically offered a $5,000 loan through BPU with interest. Why can't we use that money that's been allocated instead of having it levied on our taxes? Because I guarantee you there's a lot more out there that cannot afford $5,000 like that when we have money set aside. Thank you.
Thank you, Carla. Any more public comment?
Thank you. Robert Eichler, Scipio Township. What Joe had inferred was the amount coming from BPU. I think if I was back into my own studies, I think, I could figure out what do you call it, the algorithm that I could actually make out from BPU to making a substantial amount of monies from that. I think there is a choice that the people should have and not be, given this. Just they have to pay it. To Chief Hepner, I got to see that video. I hope we can get a little bit more out there someplace. But a year and a half ago or so, I've been known to take pictures as well when there's stops or something going on. I do have Officer Sims, and I do have it on picture, and that was it. House number 7, I think called McCullough. I'm not real sure. I'll go back and look at the
Bob,
street.
can you address the council, please, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hopefully you could just hear me. All right. And in addition to that being said, that what has happened, yes, it was very disgusting, and I think there is some control that needs to be done. I've gone through about 4 of the officers, and I'd say the various things of investigation or attempting to stop people, it's really awkward. I don't see really the professionalism that you might have said that there was. As far as what goes back into, hopefully with the, what do you call that, 4th of July issue, maybe next year, or you guys could make an announcement to make whoever wants in, to have a drawing, and have someone, be honored to, take a draw and find out who could, be the next one in line. I hope anyway. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. More public comment?
Hello, Doug Ingalls, Hillsdale County Commissioner. I have some information that I just want to share with council. I received a report from the state of Michigan on adult marijuana payments, and based on the revenues collected in the state for 2021. And just for your information, local distributions, Addison was $112,000, Adrian $450,000, Camden $112,000, Coldwater $338,000, Jackson $56,000, Quincy $112,000, and Reading $169,000. These are examples of distributions to those municipalities. The total for Hillsdale County was $282,000 distributions from the state as part of the revenue payment for the marijuana. So I bring that information to you for your knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Commissioner Ingalls. Any more public comment?
Go ahead. No, I'm not. I'm not.
Good evening. My name is Eliana Hamilton, and I'd like to speak about the Hope House issue. I apologize ahead of time if I say something that's misconstrued. I'm autistic, so I have a little difficulty saying what communicating what I mean. So I wrote out. If it's about the location, then I think we should improve it. Some of the men at the Hope House may not have another option. The effort and the courage it takes to even ask for help with substance abuse merits both respect and consideration, especially to those who are supporting, like Mr. Lashaway, who is doing the business with the Hope House to help them. I'm here mainly to report on Autism Awareness Month, the proclamation, and as an autistic woman myself, I feel as though I must speak on this. Perhaps that fact and this issue do not immediately connect, but as Mayor Stockford writes in his proclamation, 1 in 44 people are affected by autism, and that is only recorded clinical numbers. In that Hope House, there may be people on the spectrum that have never known due to the difficult process of being diagnosed, and as well as the ingrained concern about mental disabilities in our society and our community. Medically, autistic people are more susceptible to drug and substance abuse. In addition, without support, many mentally disabled people in autism including suffer from it. I'd like to suggest that as a community, if we're to act as a community, rather than forcing the Hope House men out and slandering Mr. Lashaway's character, we do something to help. Moving the problem does not mean it is solved, it means it's only displaced. That's all I have to say.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ellie. Any more public comment?
Thank you, Mayor, Council. I'm gonna have trouble speaking. Thank you, Ellie. First off, as a parent of 7 autistic children, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I moved my family to Hillsdale because of the school. And what I found out when I got here was there's a lot of folks just like me here. Grew up in a welder's home. There was more month than money almost any given month. And what I find out when I get comfortable and settle in is there's this rift between the people, Hillsdale, it's the people, and the college, which is artificial, and it's sad, it's tragic. We need to do better. We need to remember, and gentlemen, thank you for your service. I've put in 27 years, make it 40, in a uniform and working with uniform guys. And I very much appreciate what you do and the risk you take.
David, can you address council so we can hear you?
Sorry.
No problem.
I too am passionate in that we can do better. We can do better at working with one another to find solutions. We can find solutions to the house across from the insurance company. We can find better solutions to guys smoking in front of the businesses downtown. I would hope that our local businesses would find ways to assist a businessman who has ventured capital and built out to meet a need and has a contract. I want us to be careful if we start taking from business owners. There's cautious language for us in takings that we don't want to venture to with business owners. We want to find solutions. We want to not drive out, but help to build bridges and connect this community and connect people that are trying to be part of it with people who are established parts of it. We can do better. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Any more public comment?
Hillsdale in general is not as safe a place as it used to be. I don't think you can blame the Hope House guys in totality for everything that goes wrong in downtown. We had a shooting by the library. One day I was here at the Planning Commission meeting and I was scrolling through Facebook and boom, there's a shooting right across from where I live. Guys were still out there putting little things around the bullets. That makes you a little questionable. I don't think that was related to the Hope House people. There's drug deals in the Midtown lot. Sadly, this seems to be the society we're living in these days. And I don't think the Hope House is to blame with that. Don't know what the answer is to all these complicated issues, but sending these folks to another neighborhood and in somebody else's backyard, to me, is very disingenuous, and you actually are not dealing with a problem. I don't know if we can have a committee with citizens and business people and brainstorm and try and work to actually deal with the problem. Just something I thought about. And as to Ted Jensen's letter, I trust Chief Heppner, Council, Dave, the mayor, to do what's best and to work the problem. I don't see spending money, taxpayer money, on an independent investigation is appropriate. So let's try and work together, getting back to the Hope House, and not ship these people out and actually work the problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Penny. Any more public comment? Seeing none, we'll close the podium. Move to the city manager's report. David.
Thank you, Mayor. Just have a few things I want to mention. On April 14th at 6 p.m. at the Mitchell Research Center, the Community Development Committee will be meeting to discuss the Mitchell building as we talked at the last meeting. So that is April 14th at 6 p.m. We did receive favorable bids for the Uran Street project. It was actually underneath our engineered estimate, so we're very pleased with that. So we have that contractor being approved through the state agency that provided the grant. So hopefully that will be released at the state level so we can move forward. Lastly, just want to mention, as was brought up, that this week, today, they started on the brush collection. That goes through this week. And then next Monday, we'll start the leaf collection. Just to kind of update everyone, we are working on some bids for the audio video system, as it sounded pretty well tonight, so.
Definitely.
Yeah. So that is moving forward, and we are getting bids on that. That's all I had, Mayor, unless there's specific questions.
Wonderful, thanks, Dave. Councilman Sharp?
Definitely. I'm sorry, I could barely hear you. We need a PA system in this place desperately. And I'm gonna continue till it's here. Promise you guys that. Okay, I'm done.
Thanks, Bruce. Any questions for Dave? Thank you, Dave. We'll move into council comment. Anybody have anything interesting? Councilman Morrissey?
Yeah, I guess this might be a question for Dave too, on this issue of the roundup that several people discussed here. Is this first of all, is this an issue for council or BPU board? What's the jurisdiction on that?
Well, typically it would go to the BPU board first. I think you and I have discussed it a little bit this past week. The best we can research is we found that it's been in place since 2008, so about 14 years. And I know there's been some FOIAs on this, so we're still looking at the information.
Yeah, good, because it's an issue, so we may as well do it. I personally would have if there's not some technical problem with it, I would have no objection whatsoever to having a box, a check-off box or something like that. Seems reasonable to me.
I actually agree with Councilman Morrissey on that. I don't like that Roundup is you have to opt out of it, and most people don't even know it's on their bill. But it has been in place forever, and I was complaining about it 10 years ago, sincerely. So it's back an issue again, apparently. But yeah, it's nothing new. So a couple other things I wanted to mention. One was I would talk to a woman about her stuff in the cemetery. Her father's grave was being desecrated, and apparently she talked to Jake or Frank, maybe?
Probably Frank or Jason.
Frank or Jason? Okay. And she wanted to know about cameras in the cemetery. And I told her I would get with you guys to discuss the issue further. So we don't have to hash it out right here, but it is what it is.
It's a lot of acres you consider covering.
Sure, absolutely, I understand. And I know we're already dealing with the dog issue there as well. And then finally, Jill Hardaway's BPU thing. We've got the boxes outside. We can't figure out what boxes go to what apartments downtown or what buildings. It is the oddest thing. I don't understand why. How does BPU not able to tell somebody what box would go to what?
So that has been dealt with, but, so the BPU goes to the meter. And the only way we have to determine that is we have to physically go there and pull the meter and see what it turns off. Typically what would happen is you'd hire an electrician and they could trace that out for you. There was just a number of.
Yeah, no. Obviously, I've been around for years now, and I've never heard of this issue before, so it was just surprising to me. So,
if you go behind the businesses, you'll see a panel back there, and it'll have a dozen or more meters on there.
Yeah.
As a general location to feed, and so you do have to trace them or whatnot. And the BPU did help her figure that out. So.
Okay, so at some point we're going to get to where we've got number of meters that correspond to number of buildings.
Most of them, yes, most of them are.
Okay. Thank you, Dave.
Yep.
Any more discussion, Council? Councilman Soha?
Just wanted to apologize for interrupting Jack. But take great exception to you continually coming up here and berating us, Jack, without justifiable cause, in my opinion. And you did it again tonight. You underhandedly maligned us. That's kind of your course of action. You manipulate your language a little bit to look like you're doing the right thing, and then you underhandedly slam us up here. And you took out of context my last week when I pulled out my check and said, we're basically volunteers. I know we're not volunteering. It's not. I know we're not volunteering. I know we're getting paid for this. But my point was, we're not doing this for the money. My colleagues and I are doing this because we love this city, and we're trying to do our best for it. And I'm not personally angry with Lance. I understand he's trying to build a business, but the Hope House, we were not against the mission of the Hope House. And I've reiterated that time and time again. It's not the mission, it's the location. Another location was offered, and they refused. It was offered, and they refused. This could have been all settled. And if that would have hurt Lance's business, I'm sorry for that. I tried to get a business going downtown and I failed. Business comes with risk. I get that. I don't want to see him fail. That's not my point. But it's not okay when a grandmother says, I don't want to walk my grandchildren to is that a community that you want to be a part of, that a grandmother doesn't feel safe to walk her grandchildren to the farmer's market during the summer? I don't appreciate that. I don't think it's a good model of a community that we want to emulate. And I appreciate working together to, absolutely, work together. Could our neighbors go to that house on Howell across from County National Bank that's been a source of 80 calls in the last 4 years to our police department? Can our neighbors go there and reason with those people that live there and say, can we be good members of this community? You realize you live right across the street from the downtown business district? Would you please respect that? Can you clean up the front yard? Can you make your house look presentable? Can you take some pride of ownership of the community? I don't understand why our police get maligned because a man took a recording of a woman and narrated it with false information. I don't understand how that's acceptable. And I don't understand how that gives you guys just cause to come here and say the police are doing a terrible job. It's not okay. I want to live in a community that honors the police and supports them. And I understand that, Officer Sims, he could use a little gentler approach to talking to people, right? I get it. I've flown off the handle here a couple times. That's not acceptable behavior, right? But we got to, somebody said about the number of views, and somebody said about, I wish more of the video would have been released. The police released the full unredacted, well, I think they blurred out some faces, but unredacted version from the start of that call to the end of it. It's all available online if you'll look for it. And I appreciate them doing that. And they couldn't do it immediately because there's legal reasons for that. This whole reactionary thing that we have developed as a community, and I don't just mean Hillsdale, I mean the United States of America, it's a terrible consequence to social media. It's a terrible consequence to social media. We react to things when we don't have all the information, instead of stepping back for a minute and trying to see the totality of the thing. And we get enraged. And is it okay that men from outside of our community called our police chief and threatened his life? Do you think that's acceptable behavior? And that all comes with foul language, vulgarities. You think that's a constitutionally protected right? Absolutely not. You're wrong, sir. You're wrong, sir. It is not. There are responsibilities that we as citizens of this great city have to adhere to. And that responsibility is to respect one another. And words that are considered vulgar, whether they've been accepted and are used a lot because people don't understand the English language, so they have no other way to express themselves. Just because it's acceptable behavior doesn't make it right, and it doesn't make it constitutionally protected. And just because the Supreme Court or any court made a judgment on an ordinance in another city in another part of the country doesn't make our ordinances illegal. And the last time I remember, the courts don't make law. They judge on its efficacy, whether it's enforceable or not. And then we have to come together and say, no, we're going to enforce that, and they can come back at us. Right? Or the state legislature can say, no, they're wrong, we're going to do whatever. The legislature makes law. Then the executive enforces it. The courts just make judgments. And they've made bad judgments in the past that they've had to overturn. And they're making bad judgments today. And it's unfortunate consequence. And then it's touted as media that the Supreme Court or any court struck something down. And that's not okay. And I rambled on a little bit, but I just want us to understand that what these men are doing is keeping a modicum of safety in our community. And without them on that line, anarchy will reign. And there's not a lot of them. There's not a lot of them. They're working very hard and going above and beyond what's required to ensure our community maintains its safety. And I admire that and I applaud it. And if they have an incident where they fly off the handle because they have to respond to a house that gets 80 calls in 4 years, you know what? After they've been berated for the last 10 minutes with vulgarity, he's a man, right? All that man had to do that was arrested was stay on his porch. That's all he had to do. And it would have been completely avoided and it never would have happened. They would have contained the dog, the woman would have come home, she would have put it away, and it would have been over. We all have responsibility to the community. As to the BPU questions that Joe and Carla brought up, I appreciate that. I agree with Councilman Morrissey and the mayor. I think there should be something that is required of those. So I don't know what we can do moving forward there. And I think I appreciate the time. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Councilman Soha. Councilman Reiner?
Just to add a little bit to that, we had a public safety meeting before council tonight, and currently there's almost 200 positions open for full-time officers in the state of Michigan alone. We've gone from having double-digit applicants down to having 0 for a job posting for a police officer. So, you know, as chair of the Public Safety Committee, you know, I back our police department fully and 100% in how they handled that situation. So I just want to make that clear. And thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Reiner. Any more council comment?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Sharp, seconded by Councilman Pratt to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. This meeting's adjourned.